Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a video here to talk about Black Widow, the 2021 MCU film post-Endgame. This is one that I really wanted to see when the trailers were coming out. I'm a big fan of Scarlett Johansson. How could you not be? And I love the character Black Widow on top of that, so I was kind of curious to see what they would do with this film. I heard that it was going back to that Captain America Winter Soldier spy thriller thing, and I was excited for that. But as the movie came out, more and more clips of an explosion with somebody nearby it towards the end of the film happened. I'm fairly certain it was a reshoot scene. it was awful, and it really rubbed me the wrong way and made me not want to bother with the film. The reviews were never really positive either, and so all that kind of scared me away, but I recently found a copy, probably 6 months ago, for dirt cheap, so I grabbed it up, and essentially I went ahead and finally watched it. I was kind of going to hold off and just review all of the MCU films all the way through from beginning to end, first release to the latest, and I couldn't do it. After sitting through things and thinking about things like the Captain Marvel movie, which isn't that bad, by the way, in my opinion. Not that Brie Larson's good, but that movie's not that bad. Between thinking about things like that, the sequel to that, The Marvels, which I haven't even seen, I can't bring myself to watch yet, Captain America 4... the ones that are truly awful, like the Eternals, Shang-Chi, Thor: The Dark World. I don't know if I could bring myself to do it. I think it was a year ago, I sat through Thor: Love and Thunder, and I think about those things and they haunt me. You know what I mean? So I just decided to go ahead and finally watch Black Widow. I wanted an action film. I've been in kind of the mood for that, and kind of in that MCU style. So this was really what hit the nail on the head for me for what I was kind of craving to watch recently. You have hot girls doing things, you have a lot of comedy, a lot of explosions and action and stuff, and if you're looking for that, that's what Black Widow is. But I guess I'll go ahead and get into the plot itself, the very little of it there is. Essentially, I think this takes place after Civil War. It may take place between Infinity War and Endgame, but I could be wrong about that. It's before she had like the blonde white hair, so I think it's during after Civil War, when the government and everybody are still looking for her. Thunderbolt Ross is still looking for her, but she's on the run, kind of by herself. And I was surprised this film was not filled with a ton of cameos. This is really just Black Widow doing her thing. And putting this out after Endgame was kind of a mistake in my opinion, but I think that at the end of the day, it served its purpose. I would consider this alongside of Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think is excellent, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which I think is really, really good. I would consider this the third top best I was going to say post-Endgame, but you could kind of consider it post-MCU movie in the series for me. This is probably my third best in that area, and I think it's got a lot to offer despite some really terrible-ass scenes. There's a lot of comedy here, a lot of fun action and fights and stuff. I think Scarlett Johansson really carried the film, and I was worried about that because a lot of the time you take B characters and try to make TV shows out of them. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is a great testament to that, and it doesn't pan out. I couldn't even bring myself to watch that because you could see the clips online and just be like, no, I can't do it. Anyway, Black Widow, essentially, Natasha, the beginning of the film has like a prologue of her and her family when they were still together before she was trained up to become a widow. But the overall movie is about her getting the band back together after her sister is cured with some kind of like aerosol spray chemical thing that releases her from the brainwashing the widows have to go through. So Florence Pugh plays that sister. I can never remember her name to save my life. I think it's Yelena, if I remember correctly. I really like this character. I've never, as far as I can remember, seen Florence Pugh in anything. I know she's in a lot of stuff now, like Thunderbolts, another MCU film, a lot of other things that are out there. But I really like her. She's a really pretty girl. I think she's really funny in the film. Her comedic timing is incredible in this movie, by the way. The way she mocks Black Widow's poses and stuff, like when she jumps off of high areas and lands, in that superhero pose. The banter between those two is incredible when they're together. And David Harbour is in this as the faux dad that they had. He's like a Russian Captain America. He used to be a super soldier and stuff, or at least one of the earlier experiments of that. I think before Captain America or right after it. But he's always got like this complex, like, am I as good as Captain America? You know? David Harbour, I'm not really a fan of the guy in real life. He's kind of a douche in real life, just pretentious and everything. But in the movie, I thought he was really good. I think he's a great actor, you know, from Stranger Things and his little parts of Roseanne back in the day. I really like him. I think he's a good actor. And he pulls through in here as kind of that dad. But then you have a mom played by Rachel Weisz, who I think doesn't really get enough to work with, and she's way off in the background, you know? But Yelena, the sister of Black Widow, contacts her and sends her some, I think one of the vials of things that helped release her from the brainwashing, and tries to send her off on this mission to take down this guy who created the Widow program, who's kind of basically just Harvey Weinstein. It's a very timely film. It began the mistakes of the current MCU of, again, not No Way Home, not Guardians 3, but everything else of trying to be so current. And at that point, you make yourself so timely and yet so trapped in that time. You know, anybody of any generation could watch the first Iron Man or even Iron Man 2 and love it, I think, and really get into that. Some of the Avengers films, I think people could really, really do that with. Civil War, Winter Soldier, Guardians 1 and 2, even though 2 is not that great. Even the first Thor film, I feel like you could get into that and not really worry about when it came out. But this movie already started that trend, and it doesn't work after that point. You know what I mean? It's kind of a mess because of things like that. But anyway, this mild family story, everybody in the family kind of hating each other, except for Natasha and Yelena, all of that is really, really fun and entertaining. But Black Widow also has a new enemy that shows up before she gets to try to take down the Widows with this family she has to free from, like, jail and go find, like, her mom and stuff. The Taskmaster is in this movie. And many people already know it was a very, very, very controversial version of the Taskmaster, and rightfully so. This is one of the things that really put me off from the film. Not that I know a ton about Taskmaster. I'm a comic book fan, but not for the last few years. I've kind of just really not bothered to read much of comics, aside from, like, manga, obviously. Maybe a trade here and there on digital. But I don't really keep up with anything current. Obviously, I feel like there's no reason to. It's so bad now. But when I look back at old stuff, I don't think I've read enough that had Taskmaster in it. I know he's been in a few things, but I also know enough to know that he's a fucking dude. In here, for, I guess, a spoiler's sake, they changed that. He is now a girl, and the backstory for him is awful. It's awful, dude. What makes it even worse to me, and I'm convinced of this, I'm sure that some weirdo on the internet will try to tell me otherwise, but I refuse to believe it. At one point, they unmask this person and show the female, damaged Darth Vader person underneath, and it is a woman, as I said. And it's clearly the body that they are using for that scene of this Taskmaster being unmasked is clearly a dude's body in the costume. And the fight scenes, it's clearly a dude in the costume. You will never convince me that those fights or that scene with the unmasking is that girl in the costume. There's no amount of fluff or costume building you could do to not make that costume weigh like 1,000 pounds with metal and shit to make it look like she is in that costume. The CGI on that portion and a big explosion at the end of the film, you probably know what I'm talking about, are horrifically awful. I mean, we're talking floating head syndrome with the unmasking scene. It's embarrassing. I can't stand it when I saw it. But the Taskmaster itself, despite the disrespect of the character, which I think matters, I don't remember if Taskmaster even talks in the comics. I know that the powers and abilities are the same here that they are there, but I don't remember if he ever talks in the comics, so forgive me for that. This Taskmaster doesn't talk. Essentially, it just scans the opponent that it's fighting's abilities, kind of records them and memorizes them, and then it can fight the same way you do, and that's really cool to watch in here, because the other people who fight Taskmaster have to be creative on how they're going to beat this girl. I almost said guy. And that can be fun. I liked that a lot. It's just, if we had cut out the entire background of him, the unmasking scene, I think it would have went over better with fans, even though they would have said this character was wasted here. But you already, with what you've done with it, have him being a waste. Or her, I guess, in this case. And I hate that. The costume for Taskmaster looks freaking sick. The fight scenes, I really dig, like I said. Most of the CGI revolving around the fights with Taskmaster and Natasha are really good. I like all that stuff. The sets are nice, that's really all I can tell you. It's got a good soundtrack, too, I would tell you that much. Black Widow is not as bad as I expected it to be, not as bad as people made it out to be to me, and yet it's not anywhere as good as it should have been or what Black Widow deserved as a great character in the MCU. One that many people look up to, not just kids, but, grown men, grown adults. We like this not just because of Scarlett Johansson being sexy, but just because this is a really fun movie for the most part. It is a popcorn flick. It's not the tearjerker that Endgame was, or the kind of really engaging movie like Infinity War was. It's not like that. It's not like, No Way Home, which I think is, again, excellent. Something that came out a couple of years later after this, and that movie rocked the world with the things that it did, despite my hate for the multiverse. This movie is not exposed to this multiverse shit yet. So, again, this was at a time where we could have movies like this not be 100% perfect and still be kind of worth watching. And I liked it for that, I gotta be honest with you. But the MCU's dying out, we all know it, and this is a great symptom of what began that, sadly. The whole Weinstein thing is bizarre, the bad CGI in a few scenes, the disrespect to Taskmaster feels on par, if not worse, than the one that Iron Man 3 gave to the Mandarin. But with all that being said, I liked the movie for what it was. If you're somebody like me who's still been reprehensible about bothering to even spend time on this movie, not gonna lie to you, man, like I said, it's fun for a popcorn flick. You just really have to ignore a lot, and it disrespects you a lot. And disrespects the comics that it's based on quite a bit. And that rubs me the wrong way sometimes, but overall, it's an entertaining film. If you're looking for, like in this case, two hot chicks, Florence Pugh and Scarlett Johansson, doing their thing, fighting, being cool, landing in fun poses, having some humor and jokes, this is the movie for you. But outside of that, I can't recommend it to anybody else. If you had your apprehension towards bothering with it, rightfully so. There's no reason not to feel like that after I saw this movie now. So anyway, when it comes to Black Widow, what do you think about the film? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I'd love to hear all of your thoughts and comments about the movie down in the comments section down below. Do you think it was worthwhile? Do you think in hindsight, is this film in that top 3 for you of the post-Endgame MCU movies? Or is it just as bad as everything else in a regard that it's not something you could ever sit through again? I would be curious to see what people say about it. But yeah, let me know what you think down below, guys. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.